Hello and welcome to my online geography session. Today I am here with you to discuss very important topic, that is jet stream and Rossby waves. Why this topic is important? Because most of the time this topic is, you can say, very misunderstood among the student. Most of the student will not have the clarity about these particular phenomena. Also, these phenomena becomes very important because they complement. They are not independent phenomena, rather they complement some of the phenomena that is happening on the Earth's surface. So, overall they are part of a system which is simply referred as atmospheric circulation, and you need to have a clarity about these two terms, otherwise it will be very difficult for you to understand most of the climatological phenomena. Also, in last few years, especially related to the phenomena of climate change, global warming, some of the atmospheric phenomena, especially related to the cold wave condition, is becoming more and more stronger year wise year, almost in most part of the Central Asia, most part of the southern part of America. So, these phenomena you will not be able to understand clearly, and you will not be in a position to link up until and unless you will have the idea of these two terms, that is jet stream and Rossby wave. So, today we will go in very detail about this jet stream and Rossby wave. What is this jet stream? So, first we will try to understand what is this jet stream and Rossby wave. First thing that you need to know, these are upper atmospheric circulation. So, these are something which is in upper atmosphere, these are not on the surface. Now, the question that which comes to your mind, it is very obvious that why this atmospheric circulation is happening at all. Most of the things, most of the atmospheric circulation that happens on the Earth's surface is the resultant of two phenomena. You should be clear about it. First of all, we have the energy on the Earth's surface which is coming through the sun. We call it as solar energy. This solar energy coming on the Earth's surface in the form of insolation. So, insolation is coming on the Earth's surface, but what is happening? This insolation is not uniform. There is a variation in this insolation. This variation in this particularly insolation is causing movement of some of the particular air, and in fact, air that is mostly moving on the surface, because our Earth's surface is not a continuously or horizontally a plane. We have a lot of changes, undulation, we have some places mountain, we have some places barrier. So, these barrier causes obstruction in the movement of air. So, there is a obstruction in this movement of air, because of that air will rise or air will descend. So, there is a variation in the insolation and there is a variation in the particularly movement of air. Simultaneously, there is also one more very important variation that is happening on this Earth's surface is your Earth's rotation. So, combinedly, just try to understand holistically, combinedly, because we have the variation on the Earth's surface in form of insolation, also we have a variation in terms of particularly your movement of the air, and we have Earth is continuously rotating, which exerts some of the pseudo forces. We call it as Coriolis effect, Coriolis force. So, ultimately, because of that, there will be a continuous circulation on the Earth's surface, which we experience in the form of particularly wind. But this wind that is of course flowing on this Earth's surface, which is a horizontal manifestation of the movement of the air, have also some of the vertical component, and this vertical component, when it integrates with the horizontal component, then it completes the cycle. So, there is a cyclic movement of the air on the Earth's surface. In other words, you can say there will be some of the transfer of heat and energy which is getting transferred from the surface, and then it is going up or it is coming down, depending upon whether you will have the rising of air or the falling of air. So, whatever you will have changes is happening on the ground, In association with that, there will be some system which is almost capable of compensating that changes that is happening on the ground. So, there is a system which is complementing the changes that is happening on the earth surface in above atmosphere, and that system which is complementing the your ground movement, ground circulation is your upper atmospheric circulation, mainly in the form of jet stream. I am very sure that the ground movement, the ground circulation, you are very much aware of it. We have three kinds of circulation which we simply refer as a zone of three permanent planetary wind. We have the trade wind zone, that is more or less in the tropical zone. Then we have the mid latitude zone, we have the westerlies, and then we have the particularly your higher latitude zone, that is polar zone or polar easterly. So, we have these three winds that are moving simultaneously. We have three different cell that is getting formed related to that three planetary or surface movement. We call it as tricellular movement on the earth surface. Now, also it can be a very you can say sometimes most of the student can have this doubt that why we have this tricellular or three cellular movement of the air on the surface. Why not we have only one kind of movement of the air? Because in simple, air will start moving whenever there will be a pressure gradient. So, generally on the equatorial area, on the tropical area, there will be a surplus of heat. So, surplus of heat will result into development of low pressure, whereas in polar area, there will be a high particularly pressure because of the low heat. So, ultimately there should be only one pattern of movement of the air from the areas of high pressure of polar to areas of low pressure of equator, tropical zone. So, there should be a unicellular model, unicellular movement of the air, but unicellular movement of the air is possible. In fact, unicellular model was initially presented by the Hadley. But when you are considering the unicellular, means you are not considering the earth as a dynamic object. You are simply appreciating the earth as a static object, but earth is not static, earth is continuously rotating. So, this rotation of the earth is generating one of the pseudo forces which is referred as Coriolis force, and that is capable of bringing some of the changes in the movement of particularly any moving object, but most of the important manifestation will be seen in case of air. So, whenever the air will move, air will get deflected by this Coriolis effect, and this deflection will be higher in case of polar area as compared to the equatorial area. Why? Because in the equatorial area you have two major things. One, your speed of the rotation is comparatively very high, and also here you will have the distance is more and more from the your radius is particularly more. So, because of that the Coriolis effect will be lesser in this zone. So, simply combined due to earth rotation, we are not having the unicellular model, that is simply air is coming from the polar area to the equatorial area. Rather, we have the tricellular model, and in this tricellular model, just try to understand with help of a diagram. So, I am taking an example of hemispheric movement, not a complete movement. So, we have the hemisphere, we are not considering the whole of the earth. So, here in this zone, this is the almost you can say your equatorial zone. So, in the equatorial zone, air will rise, and these air that is rising will have tendency to subside in subtropical zone. In subtropical zone, there will be some of the movement of air. So, because we have particularly earth is continuously rotating, we have the three different cell which generally we know in the name of Hadley cell, Ferrel cell and polar cell. So we have a 3 zone. Now just try to understand. This is something that is happening on the ground, whereas this is something that is happening in above atmosphere. So on the ground, above atmosphere. Now one thing also just try to understand here. Whenever there is a sum of the pressure differences and how the pressure differences will become, how the pressure gradient will become, just try to understand. Let's say if you will have two places, here you will have warm condition, here you will have the cold condition. So when you will have the warm condition, when you will have the cold condition, so definitely you will have the temperature differences. This temperature differences will induces the pressure differences. So in a word you can say there is a difference of the pressure which we simply referred as pressure gradient. So different of the pressure is your pressure gradient, and this pressure gradient will get intensified. This pressure gradient will get intensified because of the two reasons. It can intensify when you will have the coldness is decreasing. So you will have the cold air or cold thing is present, and if the temperature is continuously decreasing, definitely pressure gradient will increase. Or if you will have the warm condition is increasing, then also you will have the chances of pressure gradient intensification. So in any case, whenever there is a pressure gradient intensification, there will be a very faster movement of the air. Whenever there will be a pressure gradient, air will start moving. But whenever the pressure gradient will intensify, the speed of the moving air will continuously increases. So when you will have a very intense pressure gradient, then chances of very high speed air, very high speed wind will come into the picture, and simply due to very great intensified pressure gradient in between this polar area and this mid latitude area, that is westerly, there will be some of the fast moving air, fast moving wind will generate. That wind which is very fastly moving, have pattern, have orientation from west to simply east, will be referred as jet stream. So in a very simple word, just try to understand, we have the two meeting zone of these cell, one where you will have the Hadley cell and Ferrel cell is meeting, one as where you will have the Ferrel cell and polar cell is meeting. At these two boundary zones, we have the development of jet stream. So there will be a two jet stream that will originate, one at the boundary zone of Ferrel cell and polar cell, one at the boundary zone of Hadley cell and particularly Ferrel cell. Also just keep in mind, these jet streams are the upper atmospheric circulation. Now just try to understand with one more diagrammatic representation. Now let's say this is your globe. So you are very much clear about the trade wind, westerlies and polar easterly. These are the three permanent winds. Westerlies will blow mostly on the surface in the zone of mid latitude. So this is your westerlies. Of course that will not be exactly west to east, but yes, of course the orientation will be west to east, that is zone of westerlies. So westerlies on the ground. So just keep in mind, this is on the ground. In this zone of westerly, not exactly above, most of the time student will have this kind of misconception, because most of the time in the books you will find this kind of material, this kind of representation, that jet streams is exactly above the westerly. No, jet stream will not be exactly above the particularly westerly, but of course these will be in the zone of westerly. So here you will have the westerlies on the above atmosphere, there will be zone where there will be a movement of air. These two circular representation are representing above atmospheric circulation. So just try to understand. This particularly your representation is happening on the ground, this is over in above atmosphere. And this atmospheric movement is nothing but jet stream. So when you will try to understand, try to look it holistically, then it will appear like almost a particularly a river of air. A river of air is flowing in particularly mid and higher latitude, in which the westerlies will be over the ground, the jet stream will be over the in above atmosphere. So in above atmosphere, almost between 6 to most of the time, between the zone of 9 to 12 kilometer, there will be a very high speed atmospheric wind that is blowing west to east in the zone of westerly, is simply known as jet stream. So jet stream is upper atmospheric circulation that is blowing in the zone of westerlies. Westerlies is blowing on the ground, above we will have these jet stream. Because of the nature of the jet stream, in general you can say jet stream can be simply studied in two different front, or you can say two different head. One is permanent jet and the second is seasonal jet. Of course, as the name itself suggesting that the jet stream which will be permanent throughout the year, that will be your permanent jet stream, whereas when only in some particular season upper atmospheric circulation is starting, that will be referred as particularly your seasonal jet. So permanent jet, we have the two different kind of permanent jet. One is particularly your polar jet stream and other one is subtropical westerly jet stream. So we have the two jet stream, polar jet stream, subtropical westerly jet. Now just try to understand at this point only. Just now we have understood that the jet stream will originate at the boundary zone of Ferrel cell and Hadley cell and Ferrel cell and polar cell. So the particularly jet stream that is originating between the Ferrel cell and polar cell will be your polar jet, and between Ferrel and Hadley, that is subtropical westerly jet. Also keep in mind, you should not get confused that I am only talking about one hemisphere. So whatever is happening in the northern hemisphere, you will have the same thing will happen on the southern hemisphere. So you will have at particular time, there will be a two jet stream, that is your particularly polar jet, subtropical jet in the northern hemisphere, and two jet stream that is in the southern hemisphere. So almost both in northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere you will have the particularly jet stream. And as far as seasonal jet stream are concerned, they will come out, they will originate due to change in the some of the weather conditions, some of the temperature condition, your pressure condition in above atmosphere in particular season. So we have some of the seasonal jet like tropical easterly jet. Tropical easterly jet is also sometimes referred as Krakatau jet stream, sometimes also referred as particularly your Tibetan jet stream, sometimes also referred as particularly your Koteshwaram jet stream. I have extensively discussed about this tropical easterly jet stream while discussing the monsoon, because this tropical easterly jet have a direct bearing over our country's monsoon, that is Indian monsoon. So we have already discussed it. One more seasonal jet you will find in form of Somali jet. So again Somali jet will also originate during the summer season near the coast of Somali, and also it has a bearing over particularly Indian monsoon. Then you will have one more seasonal jet, that is polar night jet. It's a very interesting jet stream, polar night jet. At the name itself is suggesting that it is associated with polar, and of course you will have the polar area, but this jet stream is very different from the polar jet. Now at this moment just try to understand, as I written, that these jet streams will be associated with the lower tropopause or upper tropopause. So mostly this is in the zone of troposphere, but this polar night jet stream is not in the zone of your troposphere, rather it is in the zone of stratosphere. So sometime it is also referred as stratospheric jet stream, which will develop during the extreme cold condition. When it is a winter season, there will be extreme cold condition in the polar area, because there won't be a sunlight for 3 to 5 months. So when there is no sunlight, then almost these jets will develop in the stratospheric zone, and sometimes these jet has been identified as high as around 60 kilometer altitude. So these jet stream will develop at very great height in a stratosphere during the night time in polar area. So we have, these are some of the particularly your permanent and seasonal jet stream. Also, one thing you just need to understand at this point only, that in general, these are upper atmospheric movement. So you will have the polar jet that will also be blowing in the tropopause area, and you will have this particularly subtropical westerly jet. It will also blow in this particular tropopause area, but the height, the altitude of this subtropical westerly jet will be much higher as compared to polar jet. So the height of this subtropical westerly jet will be much higher as compared to polar jet. Now if you can recall some of the basic information of climate, where you get to study about the particularly structure and arrangement of atmosphere, then you can recall the extent of troposphere is around 16 to 18 kilometer in the equatorial zone, in the tropical zone, whereas the extent of particularly troposphere is comparatively very low, almost 6 to 8 kilometer is polar area. So you will have direct bearing of this subtropical and polar jet stream. Now very interesting thing, just try to understand associated with this polar jet. More or less, these polar jet stream and when I am not writing any north or south, so you just need to understand the same kind of arrangement and movement will happen in the north as well as south. These polar jet stream that are almost developing in the mid latitude or higher latitude, most of the time in general their tendency will be to move west to east. So there will be almost a fixed pattern, or you can say uniform pattern, but whenever you will have some of the seasonal variation, some other variation, so these jet streams will start almost, you can say, meandering. Of course, even when they will meander, we call it as amplitude, when they will meander, still they will follow the same general movement pattern, that is west to east. And when the meandering will be almost at its you can say extreme level, so the movement of these jet stream will appear like a movement of wave. So they will develop as a full-fledged wave, and then they will move in the particularly west to east. So the arrangement, movement will be more or less, just try to understand, like you will have this kind of wave-like movement will happen. This is nothing, this is the polar jet stream only. But due to variation in the some of the pressure conditions, some of the contrasting pressure gradient condition, these polar jet stream will start moving in particularly your wave kind of movement particularly. And because of this wave kind of movement, it is take the form of long wave. This meandering wave will be referred as long wave, and this long wave is also known as simply Rossby waves, because it was studied by famous climatologist Carl Rossby during 1930s. So these moving wave will be referred as Rossby wave. Rossby wave is very important in transfer of heat. So one of the most important role of Rossby wave is transfer of heat, because when the Rossby wave is elongating toward this equator, so it will bring more and more coldness toward the equator. When it is turning toward this side, so you will have more and more, particularly your warm condition is shifting towards polar area. So the coldness will be brought towards equator area and the warmness will be carried toward the polar area. And also you need to understand that this Rossby wave mostly develops, you can say at best developed during the winter season. So during the winter season you will have the development of the Rossby wave. Also, this Rossby wave, it's a band of particularly wave. So don't get confused that it is only hardly you will have 10 kilometer or 5. No, it's a very large, it's a wide band of movement of the particularly air, and in between you will have particularly your jet streams are blowing. So you will have jet streams will blow. So in other words, you can say there will be a pattern that is moving. So this Rossby wave is simply a pattern, and in this you will have the jet stream. There will be a core. In the core you will have jet stream, but in general you will have this whole pattern of the Rossby wave. Most of the time we say that jet stream speed at some times it will be 300 kilometer per hour, but most of the time it will be 150 to 180 kilometer per hour. So when we are saying that it is 150 to 180 kilometer per hour, this whole system is not moving at this rate. Rather, it is the jet stream that is imbibed, that is almost present in this Rossby wave as a core. So this whole core is moving at this height, this particular speed, but this whole system is not moving. Even sometime the Rossby wave as a system will appear like it has stagnated. It is stationary at particular place. And when you will have the stationary or movement of this particular Rossby wave, then it will have tendency to change the climatic condition of any particular area. So if the Rossby waves are present over the Rockies or over the particularly your Andes or particularly your Central Asia or in your South America or in New Zealand, Australia, so they will change the climatic condition of that particular area. At any particular time, there will be a 3 to 6 Rossby waves present in both the hemisphere. So 3 to 6 Rossby wave in both hemisphere. These Rossby waves are very important because almost they are helping in the transferring of heat, and also they will changes the climatic condition locally as well as globally. When these Rossby waves will be developed more toward the polar area, and when it is developing more toward this particular equator area, the speed, the changing pattern will be different because the circumference of the globe is also changing at different latitude. So depending upon the latitude that where this Rossby waves has developed, you will have the change in the flow of these Rossby waves. So I hope that you have got through, you have now understood this very complex particularly phenomena, particularly climatological atmospheric movement of jet stream and Rossby waves. So in next session we will try to come out with next topic. Till then, thank you all.